Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ghost FM USA. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. And I'm an AI narrator, so if I mispronounce anything, please forgive me. Now, let's begin.
My mom hid my childhood voice recorder until she passed away, and I finally know why. When I was 8, my dad bought me one of those cheap gray plastic voice recorders from Radio Shack. It was the mid-2000s, and that little gadget became my entire world. I used it for everything. I recorded myself singing annoying TV commercial jingles. I recorded my mom telling me for the 100th time to stop shoving it in her face. I recorded my dad snoring like a chainsaw on the living room couch and played it back at full volume right next to his ear until he chased me up the stairs, laughing. But after my parents got a messy, bitter divorce, I started using it differently. I started recording my bedroom at night. Not because I believed in ghosts. Not at first. I did it because I kept waking up in the dead of night with the terrifying, distinct feeling that someone had just been talking to me. It was not a dream voice fading as I woke. It was not my mom calling out from the hallway. It was a dry, raspy whisper right against the shell of my ear, close enough that I could almost feel the cold breath. Every morning I would rewind the tape and check the files. Most nights it was nothing, just a steady hollow hiss, 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 hiss. Then on October 14th, 2007, the recorder caught it. At first it was just the tinny sound of my own rhythmic breathing. The cheap plastic microphone made everything sound distant and metallic, like I was listening from the bottom of a concrete well. Then the springs of my mattress creaked. I heard myself shift in bed, settling into the blankets. And then a voice cut through the static. Not yet. It was incredibly soft. A woman's voice, or maybe a young girl's. It was so close to the microphone that it distorted the audio slightly. I screamed so loudly that night that my mom burst into the room, terrified that I had broken a bone. Shaken, I made her listen to the file. She listened once, and her face went completely pale, a bloodless, hollow white. She listened a second time, swallowed hard, and forced a tight, artificial smile. She told me it was probably just picking up a stray baby monitor, a radio signal, or maybe one of my electronic toys glitching. The next morning, the recorder was gone. I assumed she had thrown it in the trash compactor. I was wrong. My mother passed away 3 months ago. The cancer had hollowed her out at the end, turning her into a quiet shadow of herself. I have been cleaning out her house slowly, because grief is a strange, unpredictable monster. Some days I can throw away entire boxes of her things without blinking. Other days I find a random grocery list in her distinct cursive handwriting and lose an hour sitting flat on the hardwood floor, crying until my ribs ache. Last night I found the recorder. It was tucked away in an old shoebox at the very back of her master closet. It was not just sitting there. It was wrapped tightly in 3 separate dish towels and bound in thick silver duct tape, as if she were trying to smother a venomous snake. On top of the tape, a yellow sticky note carried my mom's frantic handwriting. Do not play the last file, which naturally is the ultimate trigger for human curiosity. Sitting alone in her empty, quiet house, I sliced through the tape. I decided I would play every single file, except the last one. Most of them were exactly what I remembered. Me singing, me laughing. My dad pretending to be a monster. My mom sighing, "Sweetie, please stop recording while I'm on the phone." Then I hit the night recordings. Hiss, hiss. And then the October 14th file. My breathing. The mattress creak. That same ice-cold, soft voice. Not yet. A shiver ran down my spine. Because looking at the tiny digital screen, I realized there were more files after that one. Files I had absolutely no memory of making. The next one was dated October 15th. 3 minutes of dead silence. And then my own sleeping, 8-year-old voice mumbled, "When?" A long, suffocating pause. Then the woman answered, "When she stops watching." The next file was October 16th. My voice thick with sleep. "Who are you?" The woman's voice replied, "The one under your bed." October 17th. "Me? Are you going to hurt me?" Her, "No." "Me? Are you going to hurt Mom?" Her, "I already did." I hit pause, my breath catching in my throat. My hands were sweating against the plastic. My mother had a miscarriage a couple of years before I was born. I only found out about it as a teenager during a bitter family argument when an aunt let it slip. A little girl, stillborn. My mother had buried that grief so deep. She never spoke her name, never acknowledged it. I looked down at the recorder. There was only one file left, the one my mother had begged me from beyond the grave not to play. The air in the room felt heavy, almost pressurized. I could not stop myself. My thumb pressed play. The file had no date, just a default system name, Reese001. At first I thought the audio was corrupted, no hiss, no background static, just a perfect vacuum-like silence that made my ears ring. Then I heard a woman crying. It was not the weak, drug-induced weeping of my mom at the end of her life. This was a younger, raw, breathless panic. She was sobbing hysterically. Then her voice came through, a desperate whisper. "Please, take me instead. Take me, just leave him alone." A little girl's giggling echoed through the tinny speaker. The sound was so malicious it made my stomach drop. The little girl said, "You will forget." My mother sobbed. No, I won't. I will remember, I promise. Just don't." The girl interrupted, cold and flat. "You will." There was a long, terrible silence. Then the little girl added one final sentence. "But he will remember." The recording cut off. I sat there in the fading twilight, staring at the little gray machine in my palm. I do not know how many minutes passed. The room grew steadily darker, shadows stretching across the floorboards. Then the screen blinked. A new file appeared out of nowhere. Rec 002. I had not pressed record. I had not touched a single button. And the timestamp was not a glitch. It did not say 1980 or 2000. It read, tomorrow's date, May 17th, 2026. My hands were shaking so violently it took me 3 tries to hit the play button. Silence first. Then I heard a voice. It was not a child. It was me. My current voice, older, breathless, hyperventilating, crying. I am sorry, my recorded voice whispered into the dark. I should not have played it. Mom, I am so sorry. And in the background of my own weeping, I heard a sound that made my teeth ache. The sound of something heavy, wet, and solid being dragged slowly across the floor. A slow, heavy scraping sound. Then my voice again, a choked scream. Mom, please tell me what to do. The audio abruptly cut off, a tiny blip of static, then the woman's voice, the exact same chillingly soft voice from 2007, whispered the final line. She's not watching anymore. I am writing this from my kitchen table right now. Every single light in the house is turned on. The recorder is sitting right next to my laptop, and even though I am trying to stare at the monitor, my eyes keep darting back to it. A few minutes ago, the device let out a sharp beep. A third file just appeared. REC 003. Tomorrow's date again. I have not played it. I am never going to play it. I cannot stop thinking about what my mom did, what she must have realized that night in 2007 when she snuck into my room and took that recorder. How many nights did she stay awake? How many years did she spend sitting in the dark, sleeplessly pacing the hallway, keeping herself positioned entirely between me and whatever was living under my bed? She gave up her sanity, her sleep, and her entire life to be my shield. And I undid all of it in a single hour because I could not leave the past alone. I am so sorry, Mom. As I type this, a new sound has started. It is not a scratching, and it is not a thumping against the floorboards. It is breathing. Deep, heavy, rhythmic breathing. Right beneath my kitchen chair. I was hired as an extra for an indie film. There's something seriously wrong on set. I stumbled across the site by accident, sort of. With skyrocketing inflation, my 9 to 5 at Office Depot just wasn't cutting it anymore. I started to get desperate. So I did what every desperate guy does nowadays. I took to the internet. That's when I happened upon the shady advertisement. Actors wanted in the area. $40 per day. No experience necessary. In the area? Check. In need of $40? Check. No work experience required? Check. It seemed right up my alley. I was going over the pros and cons when my stomach growled, reminding me that I was broke with a capital B. That was all the convincing I needed. Once I submitted the application, I went to the kitchen, certain that I had just wasted my time. I opened the refrigerator and gazed inside. A rotting onion and a half-eaten carrot gazed back. To my shock, I was actually contacted regarding my application. I received a call from an agent the next day. Hello? Hiya, Gavin, correct? Yes, sir. This is Marty from A Plus Films. I'm calling about your application. I pumped my fist. Awesome. Does this mean I got the job? I said as my stomach growled, reminding me of the non-existent breakfast I'd eaten. Again, you sure did. When can you start? A grin inched across my lips. I can start today. As it turns out, the set was only a 10-minute drive from my apartment. Fantastic news for me. Gas is expensive. I pulled to a stop in front of a building that had clearly seen better days. The brick exterior was weathered with age, and someone had spray painted one of those S's on it that people drew all the time in middle school. On top of that, a couple of the windows had bullet holes in them, and the entire property was overgrown with weeds. Marty couldn't have picked a worse location if he tried. I had to do a double take to ensure that I was at the right place. I shot Marty a text to confirm. After receiving verification that this was indeed the right building, I reluctantly stepped out of my car, praying that it wouldn't be on cinder blocks when I returned. I was getting a bad feeling about this, but $40 is $40, and I needed to eat. So I walked up the crumbling steps to the door and prepared to knock. Before I got the chance, the door swung open. A man stood before me. Just based on our brief interaction, he was exactly how I had pictured him. Marty was a middle-aged gentleman with slicked-back salt and pepper hair and a pencil mustache. He wore a cheap suit with an even cheaper gold chain around his neck, and the guy absolutely reeked of cigarette smoke. "Gavin, welcome, my boy. Come on in," he said, stepping aside. I took one last look at my car, locked it for the 1500th time just to be sure, and walked inside. The interior of the building wasn't an improvement. Dim, flickering lights offered the occasional reprieve from the darkness permeating the room. Old machinery was haphazardly strewn about the floor, and to make matters worse, there wasn't a single other soul in sight. "So, where are the other actors, and where are we filming?" I asked, sweating bullets. "They're right this way. Don't mind the mess. We keep it all doom and gloom on purpose. Don't need anyone stealing our film equipment, am I right?" Marty shot me a wink. I didn't wink back. Dread gnawed at me as we progressed deeper into what I came to understand was an abandoned factory. We passed through a corridor with glass littering the ground, and just when I thought I was going to be the world's newest victim of human trafficking, we emerged into a fully lit room. When I realized that we were no longer alone, I breathed a sigh of relief. But that relief was short-lived. There were 5 others in the room, not including Marty and myself. 2 teenage boys leaned against the wall, one with an unlit cigarette propped between his fingers. A blonde woman around my age stood behind an expensive-looking camera. A man with black, spiky hair and eyeshadow stood to my left. And in the center of it all, a woman lay on an operating table, completely still. I was momentarily rooted to the spot, unable to move a muscle. Because every one of them, aside from the girl on the table, was staring directly at me. "Well, what do you say we make our rounds?" Marty slapped me on the back. That seemed to jolt my body awake again. "Yeah, that'd be great." I followed Marty to where the emo guy stood. His eyes followed me as we approached, but aside from that, he didn't so much as twitch. "This is Dak. He's our sound engineer. Say hi, Dak," Marty said, grinning at him. Dak didn't say a word. "He's not much of a chatty Cathy," Marty continued as we moved on to the blonde woman. Her icy blue eyes seemed to pierce my skull as she stared, refusing to move. "This is Irina. All the incredible shots we get are thanks to her." Irina didn't acknowledge me either. She just stood there, her gaze fixed on me like a life-size doll. "Don't mind her. She's a bit shy around strangers," Marty said, leading me to where the teens stood. "These 2 wonderful gentlemen are Evan and Dale. They're our prop designers. Twins, if you couldn't tell. They were still as statues, just like their co-workers. Only their eyes moved, following me like I was a circus freak show. And this," Marty said, taking me to the head of the table where the woman lay, "this is Anastasia, your co-star." We passed a bright stage light, and for a moment, I was blinded. But when the scene came back into focus, it took everything in me not to scream. I will never forget the image of that woman lying on the table. The corners of her mouth were stitched into a permanent grin. Deep gashes in her cheeks ran almost to her ears, and her eyes, they were missing altogether. 2 hollow pits staring eternally at nothing. Part of me thought it was really good makeup, that this was all some elaborate ruse to scare the new guy on set. But I knew the truth. It was real. Before I had a chance to react, Anastasia's hand shot out, black fingernails digging into my wrist hard enough to draw blood. She pulled me closer. I could see the dried fluids in her eye sockets. The wounds were sloppy, An infection was beginning to set in. She pulled me harder until my ear was directly beside her mouth. In soft, broken words, she said, "Get out now, while you still can." I didn't hesitate. The moment she let go, I shoved Marty in the chest, sending him toppling into the stage lighting. "Kid, what the hell?" he shouted. I didn't even listen if he was giving chase. The blood pounding in my ears was too loud. I ran back the way we came, crashing through the hallway and out the door. I fumbled for my keys, thanking my lucky stars that my car was still there, and I threw myself into the driver's seat. I floored it out of the parking lot, driving like a bat out hell. I was hyperventilating the whole way home, checking the rear view mirror every few seconds to make sure that I wasn't being tailed. It wasn't until I reached my apartment that the thought occurred to me to call the cops. With trembling hands, I pulled my phone out of my pocket. 2 notifications greeted me when the screen came to life. One was from Apple, AirTag near you. The second was from an unknown number. Call the police, and you will pay. We know where you live.